namaskar, and welcome to the 10th and last Spirit Talk. I'm Richa and Spirit Talk, this whole journey has been brought to you by Pramerica Spirit of Community Awards. Pramerica Spirit of Community Awards started in India in 2011 और तब से लेकर आज तक इन अवार्ड्स के जरिए बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट वॉलंटियर्स की सर्विसेज को अक्नॉलेज किया जाता है, अप्रिशिएट किया जाता है और अवार्ड किया जाता है जो समाज के लिए कुछ कर रहे हो. All the student volunteers who've been involved in community service have been honored through Pramerica Spirit of Community Awards. And because this year has been special, we've done things differently. So we embarked on a journey of Spirit Talk. And it's been a very, I must say, personally speaking, a wonderful and a very inspirational journey. Because in every Spirit Talk, we met a prominent citizen of the society who spoke about their community service, and these were citizens who embody the values of Pramerica Spirit of Community Awards. And we also spoke to so many student volunteers who've been a part of the journey of Pramerica Spirit of Community Awards, जिन्होंने या तो हिस्सा लिया है, नॉमिनेट हुए हैं, या जिन्हें पहले अवार्ड किया जा चुका है इन अवार्ड्स के जरिए. तो बहुत सारी बहुत मोटिवेशनल और इंस्पिरेशनल कहानियां हमने सुनी, बहुत अच्छी बातचीत हुई. But since, as I said, this is the grand finale and culmination of the Spirit Talk, we have a very, very special guest with us, Dr. Malvika Iyer, who's an award-winning disability rights activist with a doctorate in social work. She's the recipient of the Nari Shakti Puruskar, the highest civilian honor for women given by the President of India. She's a TEDx speaker, and I have a very long profile of hers, but we'll, I would prefer that she introduces herself. But yes, her work has been recognized widely, including an honor from the then President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. And, talking about her personal life, she was 13 years old when she survived a bomb blast in India. She lost both her hands and severely damaged both her legs with nerve paralysis and hyposthesia. तो उनकी इस पूरी जर्नी के बारे में, सफर के बारे में हम उनसे बात करेंगे. And we'll be joined by two student volunteers, Aarzoo Jacob, who was one of the finalists of the first Pramerica Spirit of Community Awards in 2011. Aarzoo has been working for underprivileged children to get them free education. And we are joined by Chaitanya Venkateswaran, who has been enabling visually impaired students in inclusive classrooms to reach their full potential. So we'll be chatting with Chaitanya and Aarzoo about their work and how they've continued with it. But let me first welcome our very special guest for the last and finale Spirit Talk, Dr. Malvika Iyer. Dr. Malvika Iyer, बहुत स्वागत है आपका Spirit Talk में. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Richa. Thank you for such a warm welcome, and I'm really very happy to be here.
Very honestly, I was looking at your profile, and it's, full of so many achievements, many congratulations, Dr. Malvika. You're really an inspiration for all of us. But मैं चाहूंगी, let's hear some things from you. Tell us about your journey from the age of 13 when you survived a bomb blast. Which bomb blast was that, and how has this journey been for you?
Like you said, I was 13. The accident happened to me in Rajasthan, Bikaner. I used to live there with my family, and there was an ammunition depot that had caught fire. Lots of backdrop to the story, but on the day 26th May 2002, I also have a vivid recollection of the time because the clock in my room, the accident happened in my room, so the clock in the room stopped at 1:10:15 seconds. So it's like how in the movies it happens. So my accident, I would say, I don't really have any traumatic memory or a very sad memory from the accident, because I feel it's been so long, and I feel I have moved on, from my heart and soul so much that I can only tell you now that the loss that I faced, losing my hands, losing the ability to walk almost, I would say, being here, this journey of mine ever since the accident happened and everything that happened after the accident, I have very strongly believed that this was meant to happen to me. And many times when I get asked this question that if you could take one thing back from your life, or do you regret anything, or do you regret touching that bombshell, I would never want to take this away, because I feel that my life has become richer because of this. The acceptance that I've gained, a very content perspective towards life. So I feel I think in the end, it's just, how we survive our challenges that matter more than anything. So I'm very grateful, and it's made me a more grateful person.
Wow. I mean, हम लोग कितनी छोटी छोटी चीजों के, we complain about so many things in our life. And here, Dr. Malvika Iyer is saying that she would not want to change anything. And as we can see, she lost her arms in that blast, and she was very young. How did you move on, Dr. Malvika? उस समय थोड़ा सा, must have been difficult for you and your family. But probably if you can share, the especially the emotional aspect of that moving on. It's not easy, so it might guide a lot of other people.
I think the 2 years after the accident, when I was bedridden, I used to have multiple fixators, these external rods drilled inside both my legs, and my hands were a different story. They were completely cut and bandaged for the entire 2 years. Um, I was a classical dancer. I think I used to love sports. I had a very healthy, happy, normal childhood, I would say. And then this accident happened, and it almost took everything that I love, dancing, running around, playing, or anything for that matter. It on that very instant, being I had just entered my teenage years, and everything was taken away from me. But I think I had a choice at that age. I could just sit down and feel pity for myself, and just constantly wonder that maybe there is no future for me, or go that path, or
Yeah.
accept where I am, let my family support, because my family, my friends, everyone around me, they were so welcoming, so supportive. My mom always used to tell me that this was a teamwork, that I wanted to move on. I wanted to come out of it. And at the same time, my parents as well, they never, even for a second, they thought that, the
नहीं कर
child,
पाएगी.
yeah,
Yeah.
that I'm a dependent on them, or any of those thoughts. Although I would say that it was very hurtful when people used to talk like that about me, because I was labeled the, being the disabled girl. But I think I would say the support of my family was integral to, where I am today. It was very
Journey.
important for both of us. I wanted to work on myself, and they wanted to also help me become an independent person. And with the support, with my mom's support, and everyone who pushed me to move forward, I think writing my 10th exam, I had only 3 months to prepare, because I was still bedridden in the hospital, and no school at that time. I would not be able to join a school. There's only 3 months left to go. I joined as a private candidate, and with just 3 months of preparation, I got a 97 percentage in my 10th. And I think I had never gotten that many marks, even when before the accident. So I would say that particular incident changed my life when I saw my marks on the screen. And that was, like you shared, Dr. Kalam invited me when he read about my story in the paper. So I think that day I decided that I'm never going to pity myself, or I'm never going to go back or feel bad for my hands or anything. I'm only going to move forward from here.
Beautiful. And it made you very, very stronger, I think, much stronger
I
than
think
what.
both academics, and I think just the attitude that there's something so much to life, and it's losing. Like I always like to say this, that this accident took away so much from me, not being able to write, or not being able to walk. But I think my spirit, what I had, what I was when I was a little girl, I still feel the same. I still feel that energetic and peppy. I was called by my neighbors as teeny meeny tufan. So I still feel that I have that energy in me. So I love to cherish that energy.
क्या बात है. So मुझे लग रहा है कि if I keep talking about your work, probably we'll reach the end of the spirit talk, and we'll keep talking. But as you said, this, you just mentioned the word spirit, and we are here to talk about the spirit of community service and among student volunteers. So tell us, जब ये सारा कुछ हुआ, you went back to your academics, you've done so much, you've achieved so much. But tell us about the community service part of your work. That's most important.
Absolutely. So I have a master's and PhD in social work. So I would say that when I was my first, I would say, experience with community service was when I was a field worker, was a trainee field social worker, and that was my first time when I interacted with people with disability, students, young children with disability, and I tried to. I was working on designing programs for them, educational programs, other activities. So that was my first time when I visited schools, and visited my own community, interacted people with disability. And I think that moment, that gave me a very larger than perspective life, that I am not the only person, or life disability is not just me being me not having hands and trying to figure out how to do things. There's so much, there's a world out there, there are people, there are so many challenges people with disability face. And my mother told me that time that I could be a voice for them. I think that was the day, when I was a trainee social worker. She told me that there are so many things you can do in life, but if you I would just be a voice for people with disability. If you share your experiences and perhaps use them to do something for your community, I think she said that would be something very, very, I think, valuable. And that's how I took up research. I did my MPhil and PhD in social work. And another very important example that I want to share here is my doctorate thesis. I studied the attitude of young people towards differently able people. And my thesis, so this questionnaire that I designed to interview these young people, one of the questions was, have you helped someone with a disability, or have you volunteered for people with disability? So these questions, from my research, I have my own findings that prove that children, or those young people who have in the past or during their course of school or college, who have helped or who have volunteered for a cause for people with disability, they have a much more inclusive perspective towards this community compared to those who have never interacted with someone with a disability. So that's when I realized the importance of community service, volunteering. And I think that finding especially helped me to broaden this cause, and take it forward, that how important it is for us to interact with people and understand that what our role is and how we can make the society more inclusive.
So I think on this note, let us welcome the two student volunteers who've been a part of the journey of Pramerica Spirit of Community Awards. As I said, Aarzoo Jacob, she works for the education of the underprivileged, and she was one of the finalists of the first Pramerica Spirit of Community Awards in India in 2011. You would love to know what she's doing now. And we have with us Chaitanya Venkateswaran. She works for visually impaired students, trying to make education probably easier for them and making the classrooms more inclusive. So इन्हीं दोनों से सुनते हैं इनके काम के बारे में और ज्यादा. So Aarzoo Jacob and Venkateswaran, welcome.
Hello.
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 Hi, welcome to the Spirit Talk.
Thank you.
Hello.
So Aarzoo and Chaitanya, sabse pehle I would really want that you yourself tell about your work to Dr. Malvika Iyer.
So when I was in 8th grade was when I first was a finalist for Pramerica. So since then, at that time I was involved in a community school for the Banjara kids that live in Jaipur in Rajasthan. And so from there, 11 years later, we now have like 2 schools for these underaged kids, these underprivileged kids. So from providing free education from 1st to 8th grade, and we're certified by the Rajasthan board and everything. We have a beautiful campus where they can come, feel part of the community. We love upon them and teach them and help them to pursue their higher studies. So 9th, 10th, and up to 12th. That's what we're doing. And besides that, since then, we also, the second school that we started for these underprivileged kids was near Jaipur, which is about 40 kilometers away, between the Nut community. This whole community is involved into sex trade, and they sell their daughters and their sisters into red light districts. So we found out about them when I was in 6th grade, while I was doing a project, for my school. And so from there, we have these 2 amazing schools that we have established, and helping these 2 communities educate their kids, and hopefully that they don't have to live in the poverty that they have always been in, So wow. Changing one life at a time, I think.
Wow. And that journey that started in 2011 has reached 2 schools today. And how many students?
Yes, we have over 200 students each. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Chaitanya, what about you?
When I was in high school, which is the last couple of years, I started a project to help visually impaired students integrate better into inclusive classrooms. So I studied in a school where we had visually impaired children study along with the rest of us with the same syllabus in the same classrooms. So, but often what happens is a lot of the activities in class, a lot of things that happen in class are not exactly made perfectly inclusive for them. So when I was in sixth grade, actually in fifth and sixth grade, I was um, made to be a buddy for one of the visually impaired students in class, and I was supposed to help him out with everything. If he did not understand something, if there was some cited activity that they weren't able to do, to be able to translate it for them almost. And that was the first time I realized how much we need to transform and evolve how we teach in classrooms to make it as inclusive for everybody in the classroom as possible. So when I got to 10th and 11th grade, I started interacting more with them. I started visiting and working with the National Association for the Blind, and I really tried to hear from them what their problems were, and through my project, I tried to address it and find solutions for it. So we did digitization marathons for to digitize books into accessible formats, especially a lot of the textbooks that were there, which were not available in audiobook or in readable text format. Similarly, we also created kits with tactile geometry boxes and tools that were needed in classroom, which were otherwise unavailable to them, and we distributed it across 7 or 8 schools in the Delhi NCR region, which also have inclusive classrooms like ours. So we started in just my school, and then we scaled it up to include as many students in schools as possible. Um, Similarly, we also try to involve them in art and in the arts and sports, and try to find a way to make those environments as open to them as possible as well. So that was kind of a summary of what we did.
Dr. Malvika, you can also ask them questions if you want about their work.
So first of all, I mean, both your work, I'm absolutely touched by the work that you're doing. I think it's really inspiring. So I have one question. I think this is something that I mean, being an advocate for persons with disabilities. So this is something I want to ask. When I was working on my research, so a lot of people perceive people with disability. I mean, the first I would say the first question that comes to their mind when they see someone with a disabilities, offering help or just assuming that these kind of. So how do you, since you have done such great work in this field, so how do you tell someone that how do you perceive someone with a disability, and how do you share that knowledge with people around you, with children your age around you? So how do you do that?
I think the most important thing I realized was that you need to provide a listening ear before anything else, because more often than not, people assume that someone with someone who we can see is differently able. We automatically assume that they need our help, or that they are unable to do things for themselves, or that they cannot navigate their environments without our help. And I think that is like I think that's such an outdated way of thinking, because my friends in school who were visually impaired knew the school much better than I did. They were able to navigate all environments and all stairs and everything very comfortably. And this automatic assumption that, oh, we need to guide them everywhere, we need to do everything for them, can be uh, can not only have a negative impact on how the society perceives differently able people, but at the same time also uh, make them feel worse about themselves, and often it's a hit at their own self-esteem and their dignity about how they want to live their lives. And so through the course of my project, the thing I've tried to focus most on was listening to their experiences and asking them what they needed and how they felt like I could help them improve their environments and improve their classroom experiences, and going in with no assumptions was the first thing I had to learn how to do.
Aarzoo, do you also want to answer? And do you
Yeah,
also have to deal with some differently able children among those underprivileged children?
a lot of the kids that we come through, they're dyslexic, and these kids that were some of them, so we have to train our teachers to deal with them differently and separately. And so we always have to teach our teachers to learn that and provide education, because it's the same amount of education that needs to be given to them, because they're the same potential as anyone else in the world right now. So that is something that we always have to deal with, on one-on-one basis. But also, this community, these two communities that we're working with, they need special attention because of where they come from. Their culture is different. They don't know how to read or write. They don't even speak proper Hindi, let alone teach them English. So there's a lot of love and effort and care that goes into it. So to tell people about what we're doing and how we're doing it is basically to sum it up in that we're called to love and we're called to teach and we're called to enable people, because why not? Why, what about equality? In this country that we live, we talk about equality every day. And so where is the equality given to these people? And so just finding about these communities around us 11 years ago, 10 years ago, we've come so far. And it's awesome to see that and to be able to give equal opportunities to everyone that we've come across.
Yeah, because here also inclusion is a very important issue. A lot of times these children are not included well, no matter how much education you give to them. But is the society willing to, be more inclusive towards them as well? What has your experience been, Aarzoo?
Inclusion is a big thing because people tend to forget, when these kids come up on, these are the same kids that come up on the streets, knocking on your car doors and car windows and hoping you'd give them some money. So I think that's where the burden rose from. Instead of giving them money, why can't we educate them?
Exactly.
Why don't we enable them to give someone else the same freedom that we can help them get?
Aarzoo, Chaitanya, this is probably one question I ask everyone who's involved in community service, that whenever you're doing something, there are times when you feel disheartened. जब कोई मुश्किलें आ जाती हैं, or you're not getting the desired results. But as Dr. Malvika said that, whenever she feels weak, she gets strength from the love and admiration that she gets from other people who tell her that, she's been inspiring them. So I want to ask you the same question. I'm sure there must have been times because of your age, someone might have told you, "Arey, abhi to tum bacche ho, chote ho, you don't know about this or you don't know about that." But something said by that one student, one child who you've been trying to help would have given you that push, I am on the right path. So please share that with us today.
I when I heard Malvika ma'am talk about this, I really resonated with that because a lot of times we used to, with our project, we used to travel to different schools and meet students from all different kinds of schools, people who we were unfamiliar with. And I just remember going to this one school and we were showing our, the kit that we had created to one of the visually impaired girls there. And we were opening up the tactile geometry box and the tactile maps and everything, and we were showing it to her, and she just had this beautiful, bright smile on her face. And she was, and at that moment, I just felt some kind of, like internal rejuvenation where I was like, even if this doesn't help anyone else other than that one girl, I'll still feel 100% satisfied with the amount of hours and effort I put into this project because. More often than not, a lot of times, especially when we go for competitions or events or we were representing our projects, we try to break it down into numbers. We tried to say, okay, we impacted these many people and we worked with these many organizations and we did this much stuff. But when we break it down into numbers, it more often than not removes the actual human experience and the emotional connection you develop with the people and the communities you're working with. And I feel like even if all our efforts go towards helping put a smile on one person's face, there's really something very satisfying about that feeling, and there's something very human about it that I loved, and that is why I feel like I'm going to keep doing this my entire life in one field or the other, just to experience that connection again.
Wow. Aarzoo?
So something that always encourages me to keep going is the fact that the students that have studied under us and have moved on, they always come back and say just encouraging words, and they always thank us for loving them and teaching them and supporting them when nobody would. These were the kids that you always, they come in your cars and say nahi 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 yaar jao, or like people get mad at them. So whenever they would come back to school or come to school and I would, come in the mornings, they would always come up to me and say, hi, ma'am. And so things like, and then one of the kids I remember, she came up to me and she said, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a lawyer. And so now she's pursuing that. Years
Wow.
later, we see her pursuing that, where she's finishing with her 12th grade and she's pursuing that. So that's what something that keeps me going, that this girl who was rejected, who would probably be nowhere, be on the streets, she
Very
now has the opportunity to be a lawyer. Or some of the other kids, this one of the kids that I'm absolutely fond of, now he's going into college. He is one of the most talented dancers that I've ever seen. And he came up to me one day, and I met him a few years later, and I said, oh, what are you up to now? He said, I want to be a doctor. And I said, what do you mean you want to be a doctor? What are you going to do? What are the next steps? And so he kind of started telling me about it. So I make sure I meet these kids at least once a year, if not more, the ones who've left us. And that's what keeps us
yeah.
going, our entire team and the staff, to keep going and keep pursuing what we're doing. And so we've gotten even bigger now. We've reached out more villages and more communities, and just trying to help them every single day to have a better future.
So wonderful. Dr. Malvika, today you're inspiring millions. But when you were 13, 14, 15 and going through that really tough period of your life, was there someone, होता है कभी कभी हम किसी की बात सुनते हैं, it stays with us, be it a celebrity or a relative, or so who was inspiring you in those tough times?
I think the person who really inspired me when I was 13 in the hospital, I would say that's my mother. She not only has she supported me through my journey, but she's also taught me many valuable lessons. And I think the one thing that's very important is humor, the aspect of humor in life. I mean, I have many lessons that she has taught me, but one thing is being able to just laugh. So in my house, the word hand, or it's become a joke. So for example, when in Hindi, when we are working and there's so much to do, and then I used to say that mummy ye to haath se chala gaya, and then she would come and say tumhare to haath hi nahi hai, kahan se jayega. So little things like that. It was
To be
easy to
able to
laugh at
laugh,
myself.
to be able to laugh at that problem is,
Yes,
oh my
yes. So
God.
it was nothing really seemed too much at the time, because we started laughing. So whenever the word hand would come, we would come up with so many jokes that it was, I think, humor, the lesson that she taught me, that to be able to not take the magnanimity, or just not take the enormous problem that's in front of you, but to see the one, just face the day, face today, or face this 1 hour or this 1 minute that we are all talking and discussing. So I think taking these steps, these baby steps, I would say, is what helped me to continue studying, or to do whatever, speaking or talking to people. So it's, I would say, this is what, and she inspired me, and as a whole family, this is what I think is my biggest learning that I learned as a child.
Awesome. Okay, so now let's come to the Pramerica Spirit of Community Awards also. Chaitanya and Aarzoo, your journey with the awards. Thoda sa, if you would like to share your story, thoda piche jaakar yaad kijiye. How was it like? Aarzoo?
I was in eighth grade when this happened. So my teacher, Jyoti ma'am, I'm one of my absolute faves. She signed me up for it. And one day she comes to me and she says, Aarzoo, you've been finalized for one of the finalists for these awards. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm one of the finalists? Like, what? Because I never thought in my wildest dreams that would ever happen. This is such a small effort that I'm doing over here. And in eighth grade, I was young. And so it was overwhelming. And so we went.
Not that you're old now, you're still young.
Yeah. Yes, but I was a child back then, so it was overwhelming. The world was so big, As a kid, you want to grow up, but then the world was so big, and I couldn't believe that would happen to me. So my mom and one of my school teachers, we traveled to Delhi for the awards, and it was still mind-boggling how I was there, meeting all these amazing people who have done so much. There's kids my age who've done so much and are doing so much every single day. So just meeting all of them, and at the time the guest was Miss Shabana Azmi, the most amazing person ever. So just hearing her, getting inspired, and overwhelming, And so I remember that, and whenever I would go and someone would be like, "Oh, you need to fill out this thing and an achievement you've ever had," and I would be like, "Fatafat, I would like to America," and they'd be like, "What do you mean? Wow!" And so it's one of the things that I cherish in my heart. So when I went for school, even when I went to college and stuff, I carried my jacket and I carried my medal because I was so proud of it, and something that I held so dear and so close. So I still have it here. I went overseas, I came back, and I still have it in my drawer. I always look at it whenever I'm like picking things out, like some memorabilia and stuff. Those are the first things that I pick out. So it encouraged me that there is something out for students who are doing something, even the smallest efforts. They're doing something out of their way that they don't have to. Like, none of us have to do it. Nobody's forcing us to do it, but to choose to do something like this, to choose to serve the community, it's always an encouragement to see that Primerica is out there, always showing up for us and encouraging us to find, yes, to find people like us. 11 years ago, and it's still constantly happening. So that's always encouraging to see.
Wow. Chaitanya had participated much recently when I was on the jury, in fact. Tell us about your journey.
Yes. So this was just like something that I was like searching the internet and like came up by chance, and I was like, okay, this is like a nice forum. Let me try it out. And of course, it has a long application process. And once I got selected as a finalist, I think the most memorable part for me was actually going for the interviews and actually seeing all these other students who had done like equally wonderful projects and had impacted so many lives. And after I won and had the chance to go to Washington D.C., which is interesting, which is where I moved to ultimately, where I am now. When I was able to go to the International Awards Ceremony, it was really mind-boggling to see people from all over the world who had done this kind of similar work and make connections with them, learn from them, and impart the lessons I learned from my project. And even though we met there for only like three days or so, I still remain connected with them. During the pandemic, we like reached out to each other, and and we always keep track of each other's work and the kind of community service we're doing. Sometimes if we need help across continents, we even help each other out. So it's the entire journey I've had with Primerica has been really transformative in how I view volunteer work and community service, because while it may seem like it's something like super hands-on that you're doing, when you're in person, always interacting with the community, because of the internet and how connected we are today, there are basically no boundaries to how and where you can impact people's lives and connect with people who are doing equally great work all over the world.
Yeah, so we hope you're spreading the word across about Primerica Spirit of Community Awards. And this year, a lot of things have changed because of COVID. So यहाँ पर भी थोड़ा सा change है. We are taking online applications and the last date is 31st January. So all of you who are watching, and Aarzoo, Chaitanya, Dr. Malvika, we really want you to spread the word across. If you know of any student volunteer who's doing anything for community, they must apply for these awards before 31st January, and they have to apply online on www.spiritofcommunityindia.com. I repeat, www.spiritofcommunityindia.com. One thing has changed, Chaitanya, you got to go to US. This year, the top two winners, I would say, or volunteers, student volunteers will get a scholarship worth 3.5 lakh rupees, but they won't get to go to US. But there'll be lots of medals, certificates, trophies, and I think usse sabse zyada important hota hai the appreciation, the recognition of your work that you get, and which motivates you to keep doing that good work. So please, और आप में से जो लोग भी हमारे इस स्पिरिट टॉक को सुन रहे हैं, अगर आप ऐसे किसी भी स्टूडेंट को जानते हैं जो कुछ भी समाज सेवा का काम कर रहे हैं, anything for community, please ask them to apply for the award, because the last date is 31st January, and we want more and more students to come forward and apply and probably get awarded and honored. I'll take a last word from all three of you, Dr. Malvika, Aarzoo, and Chaitanya, about community service and whatever message you want to give to the viewers who are watching us.
Absolutely. I think community service, I think like the famous quote, no amount of kindness ever goes wasted. So I love the fact that community service, volunteering, there's always kindness. I think is the biggest. It's what drives people to do to volunteer or to do community service, and especially students, young children. they get to learn what they are learning in school, and they get to apply practical, have a practical knowledge of that in the field when they are volunteering, and they get to understand the community better, and in the end they get to perhaps if you are just moved to a new school, or if you have just moved to a new neighborhood, I don't think there's anything more better than enrolling for community service, to understand, to make new friends, or to understand the challenges that the community is facing. And ultimately it gives us so much back. It's not just I think the feeling, the fulfilling feel, the feeling of fulfillment that you get, but even other I would say the skills that we learn, for example leadership skills and communication skills, teamwork, collaboration. There are so many skills we get to learn from community service, and I think there is really truly no greater joy than being able to help someone who is truly in need.
Wow. Chaitanya?
I always think back to Gandhiji's quote. He said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." And that has since the first time I heard it, it has just stuck with me. And I feel like most people think, "Oh, I don't have power, I don't have money, I'm not old enough, I'm not experienced enough to be able to contribute and do something and actually create a change." And that is never true. We can help in any way possible. And as Malvika ma'am said, kindness, any amount of kindness never goes to waste. If something as small as helping someone pick up a bag of groceries, or just calling someone who is maybe unwell and checking up on them, any small act. There is no you don't have to create some massive activism campaign to actually have an impact. You can have individual impact in any way, shape, or form.
Every small step counts.
Exactly. And as students, we have to realize that, because young people especially have so much power in their hands, and they have so much ability, which they often just think uh, is not able to create any change. But that's so not true. And I would encourage every single person, especially the young people watching this, to do something nice, something small. Even if it's something small, your anything you do is worthwhile to helping people.
Yeah. And if you're doing it already, please apply for the awards.
Yes.
Aarzoo?
I think that it's important to bless others with the blessing we've been blessed with. And so, forward that kindness that you have been given and trusted with, and just love upon people, even if you're not able to do something as what we're doing. There's always someone around you that needs help. It could be an older person, it could be a younger kid, it could be your neighbor, it could be someone just passing through or asking for directions. So always trying to help out people, be kind to them, be nice to people, but above all, just love upon other people that are around you, and use the skills and talents that you have been blessed with, that you have or you are culminating. Just use those skills to help other people, to better the world, one person at a time, or one skill at a time. If you can play the guitar, teach someone else how to do it. If you can sing, teach someone else. If you can teach, go ahead and teach someone that can be taught forward. So just use those skills and use those talents, use those blessings to just bless other people. And one day, we hope, the only hope is that the world is not poor anymore, and the world isn't in troubles anymore, and it's a better place for everyone in our generations and the coming generations to live.
Wow. This has been such a wonderful episode. And I've just realized that this is an all women panel. So, probably we could clap for all of us. And thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Malvika Iyer, Aarzoo, and Chaitanya, for joining in and, sharing your experiences, sharing your opinions and views with us. And हम तो यही उम्मीद करेंगे कि बहुत सारे लोग ये एपिसोड देखें, और जैसा कि मैं लगातार कह रही हूँ कि इस साल के प्रेमेरिका स्पिरिट ऑफ कम्युनिटी अवार्ड्स के लिए अप्लाई करें. I would request the three of you also to spread the word across. But I think this has been the perfect grand finale of the Spirit Talk for all of us. And as I said in the beginning, personally speaking, these 10 episodes have been very motivating and inspirational for me as well. And Dr. Malvika, there's so much to learn from these youngsters also. हमको कई बार लगता है कि we are this age and probably we've been there, done that, we've seen it all. But every Spirit Talk, one student, these student volunteers have told me something that I actually probably didn't know or wasn't aware of. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for inspiring me as well. And I would add, chunki finale, I would like to thank all our prominent citizens who've been a part of this journey and all the student volunteers for giving us hope, because you're the next gen. This, you give us hope ki the world will change for the better.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Richa.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.